You know, it seems like every day this fictional universe, this shared universe between the Arrow and the Flash TV shows continues to grow. Now, as promised, I am doing a video on the Atom, Brandon Routh's character, which is which as you probably already guessed is the video you are currently watching. But recently there has been a development as to the fate of this character and what is eventually going to happen with him, or what might happen. Now, what I am of course talking about is there are currently two new shows being developed or planned. They're still really in the early stages of planning for the Berlanti universe, the Berlanti Guggenheim universe. Now why am I calling it that? Well, I figured, the DC animated universe years ago was primarily run by a few individuals, namely Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, Dwayne McDuffie, and a lot of people tended to refer to it as the Bruce Timm verse or the Timm verse because they used a lot of his character designs. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this the Guggenheim or Berlanti universe, or the Berlantiverse, because they serve as executive producers / showrunners on the majority, if not all, of the shows thus far. So right away, they are really kind of testing the water, and what I like about their approach is that again, they are testing the water instead of going guns a-blazing full through, like the Warner Brothers movies based on the DC superheroes are going, because if you look at how Warner Brothers has been handling the movie side of things, they've been really anything but careful when it comes to these characters. In their increasingly desperate efforts to keep up with the Avengers, they've announced their entire movie lineup all the way till 2020, I believe it was, without actually testing the water, as it were, to see if audiences even like these characters. Because I assumed that the original plan was to introduce all of them or most of them in Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice in, small roles, and then see how audiences respond, and then do individual movies. That's the only justification I can come up with for rushing these heroes all into one movie like it looks like they're going to do for Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the TV universe, which for some reason is separate from the movie universe. I don't really know why that is from a business standpoint. I have to assume it's the same mindset that Warner Brothers had in not really allowing Justice League and Justice League Unlimited primarily to use Batman characters like Robin, Batgirl, Joker, a lot of them, because they were currently being used on the Batman. So I have to assume it's that same sort of mindset. It's kind of sad that they haven't gotten any smarter over the years, but what can you do? Basically, there are two, like I said, there are two new shows being planned for the Berlanti TV universe. Now one is an animated web series starring Vixen. What? Now, I know who Vixen is, but I really have to ask, who the heck knows who Vixen is? What kind of mainstream audience member knows anything about Vixen? And that's what kind of confused me. And for the record, this is going to take place in the same universe as Arrow and the Flash. All right, it's going to be a, I believe, 6-part animated web series on CW Seed, with the potential to possibly expand it into a live-action appearance on one or both of the shows. And for the record, the two characters, Arrow and the Flash, are going to show up in the web series. So right away I'm thinking, okay, are they going to overshadow the main heroine, Vixen? Again, we haven't really gotten anything else besides a picture of the general character designs. We haven't gotten anything about casting, who's going to voice Vixen. In my personal opinion, I think it should be Gina Torres again, because she did it in Justice League Unlimited, and she did a very good job. But then again, I'm by no means a Vixen aficionado, because really the extent of my knowledge is Justice League Unlimited, which is which basically portrayed her. For those who don't know, Vixen has the power to imbue herself with the abilities of any animal. For example, she can imbue herself with the power of the elephant and charge at her enemies, which is what she did a lot of the time on Justice League Unlimited. So who knows how far they're going to push that particular ability in something that is less, a little bit less comic booky and colorful than the DC animated universe, although not much, or at least not in the case of the Flash. So I think the character of Vixen works better in the Flash universe than she does in the Arrow universe, or in the Arrow show universe. So Vixen, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic for. Again, we haven't really gotten anything besides one photo of the general character designs. But in terms of casting, I find it hard to believe that... I would find it hard to believe that Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell would not reprise their roles as the Flash and the Green Arrow, respectively. You can probably tell that they're probably going to reprise their voice roles, but again, we have no idea what is going on. Oh wait, no, I changed my answer. There are actually 3 new TV shows coming from Greg Berlanti now, because the third one being the Supergirl series, which I'll get to in a second. Actually, no, I'll get to it now. But the thing that sort of confuses me about the Supergirl TV show is that it's been in development for a while. They're rolling out a bunch of casting decisions. We're gonna have a black Jimmy Olsen, and Supergirl for a while. It looked like they're going to get someone from the Vampire Diaries or whatever, but now it's this actress that I've never heard of. But looking at the actress's picture, I forget her name, but I can see her as Supergirl. But basically, what confuses me about this one is that it's on a different network. It's not going to be on the CW. I think it's going to be on CBS. And in regards to crossing over with the other TV shows, they haven't really specified, which I find kind of weird, how it's being produced by Greg Berlanti, and they've led us to believe, or at least thus far, that it's going to take place in the same universe as Arrow and the Flash. But since it's on a different network, I don't really know. They haven't really told us, if they are definitely going to cross over. There has been significantly more doubt in regards to Supergirl crossing over with these other shows than there was with The Flash crossing over with Arrow, where it was basically a guarantee. So that one also I'm cautiously optimistic for. Who knows if Warner Brothers is going to do their thing where, you can't mention Superman, although from what I hear they're looking for a body double for Superman, sort of like what they did with Charlie Sheen in the finale of 2.5 Men. Ugh. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic for that one. Still can't convince me that the world is not ready for a Wonder Woman movie, DC and Warner Brothers. You still cannot convince me of that when they are coming out with a Vixen web series and a Supergirl TV series, which is hopefully going to be better than the Supergirl movie, but we'll see. And finally, the one that I have the most optimism for is actually a show that doesn't even have a title yet, but it is being described, as far as I know, it's going to be on the CW. It is being described as a superhero team-up show. It's another spin-off. It's a superhero team-up show starring Brendan Routh, Victor Garber, Wentworth Miller, and Katie Lotz. Now, all 4 of these guys have been on The Flash and or Arrow before. Brendan Routh plays Ray Palmer, aka The Atom. Victor Garber plays one of the Firestorms, or one half of the Firestorm entity that is currently on The Flash. Wentworth Miller plays Captain Cold, and Katie Lotz did play Sarah, but, Sarah's dead, so I don't really know what they're going to do. In fact, I don't really know what they're going for in general regarding this show, and to a certain extent that actually contributes to some of my excitement, because in addition to these 4, it has been announced that the show will also feature 3 DC superheroes who have never appeared in a television show. Now, whether that extends to the realm of animation, I don't know, because I'm pretty sure the DC animated universe has you covered when it comes to portraying these characters on a television show. Now, granted, a lot of them didn't really get lines, but I'm pretty sure that if they're, I think it's a pretty safe bet that if they are a DC superhero, they have probably shown up somewhere in the DC animated universe. But again, I could be wrong. So who knows what these other three superheroes are going to be? But what actually kind of confuses me about this show is that, Brandon Routh as the Atom. Okay, we've heard talks of him getting his own show for a while now. We've kind of heard speculation. We've kind of gotten hints from Routh himself, as well as the creative team behind Arrow and the Flash. And really, they've said, most of it is a matter of how the character is received by fans. And as far as I know, he's been received fairly well. And personally, I can speak for him. I like him as a character. I like the casting of Brandon Routh as the Atom. And since his transformation into the Atom recently came to fruition, I'm interested to see where they're going to go from here. If they're going to keep him on Arrow, or if they are going to spin him off into his own show. Probably the latter. In fact, this report all but confirms that. But really, what confuses me is the other three main names that they dropped in regards to this new spin-off show, this team-up show. First of all, Victor Garber. He plays Dr. Martin Stein on The Flash, okay? So, and if you've been watching The Flash, you'll know that Firestorm, strictly the character of Firestorm, is really two people who are bound together for the indefinite future. Robbie Amell's character and Victor Garber's character are really sort of tied together. They're tethered together through transmutation and whatnot. So I don't really know how you can have one in a show without the other. Especially when you take into account that Robbie Amell is, as far as I know, more physically capable than Victor Garber of doing, a lot of the physical stunt work that they're probably going to require. Or maybe not, I don't know. So that kind of confuses me. And in addition, Wentworth Miller, again, good actor, but he plays a bad guy on The Flash. He plays Captain Cold. Okay, so I don't really know how this could be described as a superhero team-up if they're putting Captain Cold in there. Or maybe they're just saying, Wentworth Miller is going to be in the show, but he's not actually going to be a superhero. So the details are kind of mum in regards to that. But in addition, in regards to that character, we have heard no mention of Heatwave, the Dominic Purcell character. Dominic Purcell being on The Flash specifically because Wentworth Miller recommended him after building a long-standing friendship with him on Prison Break. We have no idea if Heatwave is going to be in the show. We have no idea if Captain Cold's sister is going to be in the show, who we haven't seen yet, but we know exists. We know Captain Cold's sister exists. I mean that's what the cliffhanger a few episodes back would have us believe. So Captain Cold, I'm kind of confused on that front. And last but not least, the one I am most happy for, yet the most confused for, is Katie Lotz. Now, Katie Lotz, for those who don't know, was the original Black Canary on Arrow. She was Sarah Lance, and in my opinion, she was much better than Laurel. She was more likable, she was more interesting, she's a better actress, she's prettier. So, I mean, if we're getting truly subjective here, I personally think Katie Lotz is a lot better looking than Katie Cassidy, but again, I'm kind of going into that area where I'm just kind of a subjective pig, so I don't want to portray myself as such. But for those who don't know, Katie Lotz's character is dead on Arrow. Yeah, she has shown up in flashbacks or voice roles or as hallucinations since her character was killed off, but her character was shot with 3 or 4 arrows and toppled off a roof. And she was buried. So there has been some speculation, is she going to play a different character? Which I can't really imagine. I can't really imagine they would get someone who is well received by fans as Katie Lotz's character, as Katie Lotz herself, and cast her as a different character without it becoming weird. So really, it comes down to my speculating, which is, are they going to resort to cloning? Which I can't really imagine they would, especially at such short notice. for them to pull cloning right out of nowhere. It would seem kind of really random. And in addition, they could resort to the Lazarus Pit. Now, in the previous episode of Arrow, we saw Ra's al Ghul kind of lounging in this water, but we had no idea if it was the Lazarus Pit, or at least I had no idea. Now, the Lazarus Pit is what keeps Ra's al Ghul young, and is what has allowed him to survive for thousands of years. It can also resurrect the dead. So what might actually be an interesting move on their part, and what may have actually accidentally been somewhat spoiled by this announcement, is, they could actually use the Lazarus Pit to bring Sarah back into the show toward the end of Season 3 as sort of almost like a bookend, like Katie Lotz is at the beginning of the season, and then she shows back up at the end of the season. Maybe Nyssa, in response to Oliver being offered the mantle of Ra's al Ghul, she gets angry, she takes Sarah's body, dips it in the Lazarus Pit, and all of a sudden Sarah is back. So yeah, I really have no answers aside from the fact that I am excited. I am excited for these 3 shows. I'm interested to see what this creative team does with these 3 shows. Is everything going to fall apart? I don't know. Is this creative team going to overextend themselves between all these shows? I don't really know. But one thing that I kind of admire about this particular team is that they're really going for the obscure DC superheroes. They're not going for a Superman. They're not going for a Batman. They're going for a Green Arrow. They're going for Flash, Vixen, Black Canary, the Atom. Really not household names when you think of DC superheroes. DC superheroes, household names, you really think of Batman, Superman, because they've been shoved in our faces for years. And Wonder Woman at this point. With possibly Green Lantern, okay? So really, really obscure choices of superheroes to lead off your TV universe. But again, we'll just have to see what happens. I really have nothing more I can say on the subject, or I suppose I could go on for an hour, but my voice is kind of killing me, and my speech pattern is slowly falling apart, so I'm just going to end the video while I still have some semblance of dignity.